This is TTN, the Taebyn Television Network. It's the Totally Taebyn Show, starring Taebyn, everyone's favorite pup. Today on Totally Taebyn, he'll be spending time in the kitchen and reading us a story.
Hi there! My name is Taebyn. I'm a pup, bark bark, and welcome to another edition of Cooking with Taebyn. Today, I want to help us learn how to do something very important if, on a hot day or something like that, or you're just hanging out on the town in the evening and you want something cool and refreshing. And to do these things, you usually need ice. So today, I want to help us learn how to make some ice. What you need posies, ice posies, and you need an ice tray. It's a tray for ice. Who would have thunk it, right? I mean, what's going on with these people? But, so you take your ice tray, and if you remember from one of my earlier cookings, we did this thing about water and pouring water. At that time, I had my little puppy bowl. This time, we're going to do the exact same thing, but put it into the ice tray. Now, this can be a little difficult sometimes because, let me show you, if I can get a close-up here. You've got all these little hole thingies, and you need to fill them all up with the water. You remember from my other video, you want to turn it on. On. This, I guess this means on. So we'll do that here again. And because of all the little holy thingies, you don't want to do too much at first. So, I guess too much. That's scary. You want to go slower. About like that, you know, something nice and mellow. And then take your ice tray thingy, and you want to get them in all the little hole thingies. So you go kind of like that. And try not to get posies too wet. A little wet is okay. And then you want to make sure to turn it off, or else, well, let me do that before, then I'll explain. Off. Okay, now I explain. If you don't turn it off, the next day you'll probably get a little tag thingy on your door that says, hey, you're using too much water, and we're the water company, and you're spending too much money, or something like that. You don't want that. So turn it off. Once you have it, it's not ice yet. I know, you want it to be, but it's not. You need a freezer. Freezer. And you open it up. Like that. And then you take your, it's not ice yet, remember, your ice tray that has water in it, and carefully, oh so carefully, put it in. Like that, and then close the freezer. Close. And then we wait. How long does it take for ice to freeze? Question mark. That long? Oh my pup. Oh, so long. So long. Jacob, it's so long. Oh, and this is coffee. Hi, how's it going, It's ready! And it's done! How exciting! Yay! So now we can take it out and use it. And how you get it out, you can't do it here. You have to open first. Open. There it is waiting for us. Look, it doesn't splash around and all that stuff. Then close. And then, so to get, see, it's ice. What you have to do is you have to crack it to get it out. It makes a little crack. You just go back and forth with posies. And then, when you're ready to use it, it's done. So I hope you've learned a lot today, and I know I have, and I've enjoyed explaining all this to you. So I'll see you next time on Cooking with Taebyn. Bark, bark. Today we'll be reading a bedtime story, and this is, it says politically correct. I'm not a political pup, so I'm not sure what they mean, but we'll see how it goes. And today I want to read to you Little Red Riding Hood. There once was a young person named Red Riding Hood who lived with her mother on the edge of large wood. One day her mother asked her to take a basket of fresh fruit and mineral water to her grandmother's house. Not because this was women's work, mind you, and woman is spelled W-O-M-Y-N, I guess, because in those days there weren't any men that woo. I don't know. But because the deed was generous and helped engender a feeling of community. That's very nice of Little Red Riding Hood. Furthermore, her grandmother was not sick, but rather was in full physical and mental health, and was fully capable of taking care of herself as a mature adult. Let's get that clear. So Red Riding Hood set off with her basket through the woods. Many people believed that the forest was a foreboding and dangerous place and never set foot in it. Red Riding Hood, however, was confident enough in her own budding sexuality that such obvious Freudian imagery did not intimidate her. Well, that's a strong young girl woman thing. On the way to Grandma's house, Red Riding Hood was accosted by a wolf who asked her what was in the basket. She replied, "Some healthful snacks for my grandmother, who is certainly capable of taking care of herself as a mature adult." The wolf said, "You know, my dear, it isn't safe for a little girl to walk through these woods alone." Scary. Little Red Riding Hood said, "I find your sexist remark offensive in the extreme, but I will ignore it because of your traditional status as an outcast from society, the stress of which has caused you to develop your own entirely valid worldview. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must be on my way." Good for her for standing up for herself. Red Riding Hood walked on the main path, but because his status outside society had freed him from slavish adherence to linear Western-style thought, the wolf knew a quicker route to Grandma's house. That's very good of Wolfie to take advantage of his cultural upbringing and knowledge about the world around him. That's not in the book, I just commentary. He burst into the house and ate Grandma, an entirely valid course of action for a carnivore such as himself. Then, unhampered by rigid traditionalist notions of what was masculine or feminine, he put on Grandma's nightclothes and crawled into bed. That's very good of him not to be worried about what other people think. He can put on Grandma's clothes. Red Riding Hood entered the cottage and said, "Grandma, I have brought you some fat-free, sodium-free snacks to salute you in your role of wise and maturing matriarch." From the bed, the wolf said softly, "Come closer, child, so that I might see you." Red Riding Hood said, "Oh, I forget you are optically challenged as a bat, Grandma. What big eyes you have. They have seen much and forgotten much, my dear." "Grandma, what a big nose you have. Only relativity, of course, and certainly attractive in its own way. It has smelled much and forgotten much, my dear." "Grandma, what big teeth you have." The wolf said, "I am happy with who I am and what I am," and leaped out of bed. He grabbed Red Riding Hood in the claws, intent on devouring her. Red Riding Hood screamed, not out of alarm of the wolf's apparent tendency towards cross-dressing. No, she wasn't worried about that. But because of his willful invasion of her personal space. Her screams were heard by a passing woodchopper person, or log fuel technician as he preferred to be called. When he burst into the cottage, he saw the melee and tried to intervene. But as he raised his axe, Red Riding Hood and the wolf both stopped. "And just what do you think you're doing?" asked Red Riding Hood. The woodchopper person blinked and tried to answer, but no words came out. "Bursting in here like a Neanderthal, trusting your weapon to do your own thinking for you," she exclaimed. "Sexist! Speciest! How dare you assume that women, W-I-N, of course, and wolves can't solve their own problems without a man's help." When she heard Red Riding Hood's impassioned speech, Grandma jumped out of the wolf's mouth, seized the woodchopper person's axe, and cut his head off. What? After this ordeal, Red Riding Hood, Grandma, and the wolf felt a certain camaraderie of purpose. They decided to set up an alternative household based on mutual respect and cooperation, and they lived together in the woods happily ever after. The end.